so as I've said before, COVID came upon us very suddenly. And not all of us, including myself, we were not equipped to handle online distance or virtual learning. It's something that we were not accustomed to, nor did we have any plan for it. So all of us as teachers are at different points along the road in doing this thing. So we have some people are at a space where they still have to handle printed material because internet access is not something that is widespread in the region that they live in, or they themselves do not have internet access. And that is fine. But we would like for us, as best as we can, to move away from handing out printed material. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying at this time, it is not the best way. If it is the only way you have, then we just have to continue with it. Email and WhatsApp is something also that is heavily used by teachers, again, because it is something that we know and we're familiar with and able to use without much training. Again, what I want to say, WhatsApp and email, if it's the only thing that you have access to and it's the only way you're engaging your children, then go ahead. But we also want to say, is there something better that we can do? Is there something more efficient and effective way of engaging our students? Now, I've heard discussions that I can't do anything else because my students only have WhatsApp. But if they only have WhatsApp, that must mean they're getting on the internet somehow. And if that be the case, then it may be worth your while to look at other options, all right? Another one is by using something like Google Classroom. Google Classroom by itself is not that interactive, but it certainly is better than WhatsApp. But it needs additional tools with it as well. Then we can move to something like Zoom and Google Meet, where you're able to interface and speak and see your children, and they are able to see you. So we notice that as we go along this road of interactivity, it's getting much more similar. It's becoming more similar to our face-to-face, where we're able to actually see the children and they are able to see us. Really, the ideal thing that we would want to get to is that we have a blend of several, the WhatsApp, the Google Classroom, the Zoom, the Google Meet, and a whole host of tools that you can expertly use to engage your children. But it is what it is, and you have to use what you have. But I encourage you to try and go along the road and move from just WhatsApp and email to something a little bit more interactive. All right, so we're talking about planning for a lesson. And planning for an online lesson, when you're thinking about the lesson, is not much different from when you're planning for your face-to-face session. So when I'm thinking about my planning for a lesson, the first thing I think about is, what am I teaching? What is the content that I'm going to be delivering in this lesson? And this is the same thing that you will have to do for your online or virtual lesson. The next thing I think about is, what do my students know? Do they have the skills, the prerequisite skills that are needed to do what I'm about to teach them? Will they be able to manage what I'm about to teach? Do they have the skills or the know-how to manage that? And I also think about, how will I teach it? What method, what are the strategies that I'm going to use to deliver this content? And finally, I think about, how am I going to know if my students understood what I've taught? What are they going to do to show me that they have understood? Now, these are the things that we all think about when we're planning our face-to-face lesson. And it's the same questions that we have to ask ourselves when we're planning for an online or virtual lesson. So for us here in Jamaica, we know what am I teaching is covered by the curricula that the NSC tells us what we are to teach. And if you were in the first session that we had discussed that it really, really is impossible to cover everything that we would have been able to cover in a face-to-face situation. So we have to decide what is essential and what is not essential, because I don't know about anybody else, but I know I cannot cover everything. All right. So the next thing we talk about is engage. And the engage part of the lesson for me is for me to find out and to give an activity that I can find out what are the skills that my students have to this point, so that I know how I can proceed. Do I need to back up a little bit and fill in some gaps of these prerequisite skills, or are my students ready to move forward? And then the next question is, how will I teach this? Now that part is where things change up a bit, because now we have to think about, we are not directly in front of the students. So some of the things that we would explain to them, just stand in front of the class and explain, or sit beside them and explain, we can no longer do that. So we have to find something that will be able to fill that gap. So that explore, explain, and elaborate part of your lesson on how you're going to teach is a part that is really changing now that we're in this virtual space. And then we have to think about the evaluation or the assessment of the lesson, for you to know if your students did understand what you have taught. All right, so we're talking with, this is a math session. I'm happy to see that there are 629 teachers who love math, and that's why you're here. So how we're going to proceed, because math at grade 3 is so different from math at grade 1 or at grade 6, we are going to do it, we're going to try and look at the topics from grades 1 to 3, but we're focusing only on one area today, and we're focusing on fractions. Now, we went through and we looked at the curriculum and decided that these were some of the areas that were really essential areas. For grade 1, we wanted to ensure that the grade 1 students are able to identify halves and quarters. For grade 2, that they can add and subtract fractions with the same denominator, and that they can identify equivalent fractions, equivalent forms of halves and quarters. And grade 3, again, add and subtract fractions with the same denominator, compare and order fractions with common numerators and denominators, and use fractions to describe quantities. All right, so that's some of the content that we're looking at. I do understand that this is not the entire content, but within an hour and a half, we're just giving you examples of what you can do. All right, let me back up a bit. Let me say something here. We're going to go through some activities today. Now, because we're catering to grades 1 to 3, I am not giving a lesson from start to finish, because if I gave a lesson, that would be only one lesson, and I would have to select a grade. So only one grade would benefit from the session. We're going to show some activities. It is for you as a teacher with your skills to decide how you can use that activity. So an activity that we're going to do could be for grade 1, an assessment, an instruction. It could be the middle of the lesson. But for a grade 3 teacher, she may use that as an engage. So what we're giving you today, what we're going through today, is showing you some activities and hoping that you will stop and think about the activity and say, how can I use that? Rather than thinking that the order that I'm giving the activities in is the order that you need to use them. So just to make that part clear. So since we're talking about fractions, the question that I have for you today is, what is a fraction? I want us to think about that. And I want us to, in the chat, could I get some answers to that question? What is a fraction? So quickly put in the chat. I'm looking to see. It's a difficult question. It's a simple question, but it's a difficult question. What is a fraction? And all of us, grade 1 to 3, part of a whole, equal part of a whole. Okay, a fraction is a part of a whole. So is it? Are we sure that's what a fraction is? It's a part of a whole, equal parts of a whole set. Okay. A fraction is anything that is shared. Okay, a fraction is a part of a whole. All right, so most of us have a fraction as a part of a whole. Now, you are correct, but I would like to say you're not complete. There needs to be a broader understanding of what a fraction is. And I dare say that grades 1 to 3 sets the foundation for us at, I'm a grade 6 teacher, of us at grade 4, 5, and 6. So when I ask when I used to teach grade 4, and I say, children, what's a fraction? You all, yes, miss, we know, we've done fractions, we know it already. And everybody says it's cutting up the cake, it's sharing the pizza, it's that kind of thing. But we really need to understand that a fraction is a number. And many students do not understand that a fraction is a number. So a fraction is a number that is used to show how much of a whole that you have. And you may think that this is, I'm picking at straws to say that it's a number. Everybody knows it's a number. But the students are not seeing it as a number. And because they're not seeing it as a number, when we get an activity such as putting a fraction on a number line, it is like I'm chopping the children up into small pieces, because fractions do not go on number line. Fraction is we're cutting cake and we're cutting pizza. So they don't have that full understanding of what a fraction is. So I always ask the children, what is a fraction? And you need to let them understand that it is a number. It is a number. And then I always go back and ask the second question, what is a number? And we also fall down there because the children cannot articulate what a number is. And a number is a symbol that tells us, in its simplest form, a symbol that tells us how much or how many. Also tells you position, but and some other scalar things. But at this level, a number is something that tells us how much or how many. And that is why, and so a fraction is a number because it tells how much. So if I have half of a bulla, it's telling us how much of the bulla that I have. So children need to make that connection, that it's a number. So I beg you grades 1 to 3 teachers to get that in the students' understanding. It will make our life at the upper grades a lot easier. All right. So we've spoken about what is a fraction. So I also want to talk about, there are lots of essential things that we need to know about fractions, but I want to talk about 3 of them. And the 3 of them is that fractions must have equal parts. And yes, we know this and we tell the children this, but everything that we draw and we show them, it's already cut in equal parts. And we don't show them, we tend not to show them what is not equal parts. So we need to show them what it is, and we also need to show them what it is not. So activities like this, equal parts, I'm not even asking the fraction, select the picture that has the equal parts. Is a good activity for children. Select the picture that has equal parts, right? These are simple activities for grade one students. Even for what is equal parts, because we have a tendency in Jamaica, you know, especially when we're sharing food. Give me half of that, no? When we say that, we don't really mean half. That means some. Half means some. If you have an orange and you're eating an orange and a friend says to you, give me half of that, no? A lot of times you just cut off the tip and give them the top of the orange. That's not a half. The children come with a language of half that is not a mathematical language of half. So we have to make sure that we get that solidly in their mind. All right? So that when they get to something like which one shows half, we have told them that it is in two equal parts, but this orange is divided into 2 parts. But they're not grasping the equal parts. All right? So I know all of you teachers know this already, and I'm just preaching to the choir, but these are some of the things that I want you to pay attention to. Which one shows half, right? Which one shows fourth? Yes, because it is divided in 4. So the student will now have to think about it carefully. All right? Another thing we want to talk about is part of a whole versus part of a set. Now, for us as adults, we think about that seamlessly. So on the left-hand side, we have representations of a half, and we tend to teach half part of a whole, and we cut the pie and we cut the shapes and we do all of that. And we have a half. And then when we give an assessment, we give them 6 little suns or smiley faces and tell them to show the half. The children are not able to make that transition between part of a whole and part of a set unless they're explicitly taught to do so. So teachers, I'm begging you to make sure that you teach that explicitly. Where we fall into the trap is sometimes we're teaching a half and we print a worksheet from the internet that says half, children to identify half. And then you have not checked that oh my gosh, I haven't taught part of a set, I've only taught part of a whole, but the worksheet that I printed has half with part of a set, and you confuse the children. So please look out for this. This is something that we need to teach separately and very explicitly. So make sure that the worksheets and the assessments that you're doing shows that part of a whole and part of a set. Although for us as an adult, we don't see the difference. Now, when we tell children, just for you to understand, when we tell children that a half is less than a whole, and we've been going on saying, when you have a half, you have less than a whole, it's smaller than one. And then you give them 6, like this over here, 6 shapes. And you say, what is a half? And they tell you 3, but 3 is more than 1. You can understand where the confusion is, right? So that's the point I wanted to make there at 1 to 3, that needs to be explicitly taught. And the last thing that I want to talk about, I said I had 3 points about fractions that we want to talk about, is fractions on a number line. Now, I do not know. First of all, let me put some disclaimers. I have not taught grades 1 to 3 in, I think, 9 years. I have not taught the lower grades. I've been at the upper grades for a while. Hats off to those who teach 1 to 3. I do not know how you do it. It's a difficult job. I take my hats off to anybody who teaches between the ages of 6 to 10. You have all my respect. I can no longer do it. I don't know if the curriculum, if our NSC specifically speaks to fractions of a number line. I'm almost sure it does. If it doesn't, please talk about and teach fractions on a number line. We're going to talk a little bit more about it if time allows. But it really lets children be able to compare numbers and to benchmark fractions once we get higher up. Okay? All right, is everybody okay? Let me see in the chat that you're all okay. Everybody's hearing and all is well?
Nicole?
I hope so. So I'm going to continue on.
Nicole?
Yes.
I see a few hands raised. I'm not sure if these were mistakes, but I figure they may have questions about the discussion so far. I don't know if you want to take a few questions here.
I would rather not take a question now because we're going to go into these same things a little deeper.
All right,
so maybe I will cover that. So can I, if you will allow me to just go a little bit more and then we take questions in about maybe 15 minutes.
Sure, no problem. Great.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about the 3. We're going to look at the areas that I spoke about. So we're looking at how can I do this online teaching? Now I know because of every session that I've done, the question that I get in the comments is, how can I teach this from WhatsApp? How can I teach this if my students do not have internet access? And my honest answer is, I do not know. I do not know. I am here trying to facilitate those who have internet access, but I really do not have a good answer to give you if your students do not have internet access or if you're only using WhatsApp. Some of these you can probably screenshot and send out by WhatsApp, but you are the WhatsApp experts. I really am not. So you can adapt what can be adapted. All right, so let's talk about the first website I want to talk about. This website is called IXL, and I am probably sure that most of you know IXL. And yes, I do know that IXL is an expensive website. It's a paid website. But guess what? They have a 30-day free trial, full free trial. Now we are at the 22nd of May. 30 days from now takes you to the end of the term. So my suggestion to you is accept their free trial offer. You do not need to put a credit card in. You don't need to do anything else but sign up for their 30 days free trial. It is a fabulous website. So I wanted us to take a look at some of the things that's here. All right, their screen. So I have logged in and done all of that already. So I want to talk about some of the things that this website can do. So for example, what I do like about it is that this is some of the questions that it will ask the students. So it will ask the students something like, this rectangle is cut in half, cut the rectangle into halves a different way. That is really a good option for younger children to see that half doesn't only look one way, it looks many ways. And what is really neat about this website as well is that they have this here. I'm hoping you're hearing it.
This rectangle is cut into halves. Cut the rectangle into halves a different way.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So students who cannot read or who are having reading difficulties can maneuver this website. So it says, go back. I didn't complete it. Cut the rectangle into halves a different way. So I cut it and I submit. And this is what the students are going to be doing, right? Terrific. Cut this into thirds. Cut it into thirds a different way. And it gives these little dots as guidelines. And let us see what happens when I get it, when I don't do it right. So when I don't do it right, it tells me that I'm incorrect. And then it goes through and it gives an explanation. If you're seeing that, it gives an explanation as to why my answer is incorrect. Okay? So this is a really neat website and they have a lot of skills. Let me see if I can bring that up for you really quickly. If you look first grade math, there are so many skills that you can go through. And once you click on them, here they are. They're all there. And once you click on them, you just hover over it and it will show you an example of what is there. So this is really a good website for math and for you to use with your students. No, I'm not going to go into how this website works. It's very, very clear once you get on. You can register your students on. You can see the work that they have done. It really is a wonderful resource. So I encourage you to take a look. Let us talk about one of the things that is essential for our students to know, and this is ordering unit fractions. All right. So ordering unit fractions, we know we're going to get questions like which is larger, 1/5 or 1/3. Put these fractions in order, starting with the smallest, 1, a quarter, a half, a sixth. So these are the kinds of questions about ordering fractions. Now my question is, maybe I should have asked, do your students find these tasks difficult? And the next part of the question is, how do we teach these skills? Davion, I don't know if you want to do some hands up and ask, see if we can get some answers to that question. Why do students find these tasks difficult, and how do we teach these skills? If there's anybody who would like to answer, you can raise your hand and Davion will unmute your mic.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I do. So we're saying that students find it difficult because they really need something tangible that they can touch and feel in order for us to teach these skills. Now, here is where the problem now exists. How do you teach something like ordering unit fractions, which is best taught with a type of manipulative, something that the students can hold in their hand? Students are 10, 20, 30 miles away from us. And are not able to manipulate those things. All right. So what we're going to have to do the next best thing. And the next best thing for that is virtual manipulatives. So today we're going to be looking at virtual manipulatives. Now, if you Google virtual manipulatives, you're going to get a host of websites. There are really a lot of them. I have picked out three that I really like. but there are others. So I'm just using, and in the same way I'm going to show you to use these, you can use other websites. So let me, instead of just showing you resources, I also wanted to talk about how do you choose a resource on your own. So the first thing that I look at is cost. And for me, it has to be, if not free, so close to free that, I mean, if we can call it free. So my online resource, it has, the cost is the first thing that I look at. It has to be free. It has to be free. It has to have some kind of free thing to it. And I mean, I hate to say it, but the nature of us teachers is, if I get a free 30-day trial and there's an ability to download, you bet your bottom dollar I'm downloading for hours, because I'm taking what I need to take when the 30-day trial is up. I'm not telling you to do that, you know. I'm just telling you what I do. I'm not telling anybody to do that. So cost is really essential for me. Another thing is ease of use, ease of access, and easy to use. There are certain ones that you have to click to the left, click to the right, 3 clicks here, shake 2 tails there. And if I'm having such a problem to get to the point where I can use the manipulative, then my students are going to have that trouble as well. So I don't bother with it. So if it is not easy to use and easy to access for the students, there's an X there. When I talk about ease of access as well, because I use Google Classroom, are these integrated? Can I integrate them in my Google Classroom? Would also be ease of use. I also look at content coverage and accuracy. If you didn't know before, there's a lot of junk on the internet, and you have to really look with a keen eye if this is what you want to use. There may be some fraction strips that are not for the younger grades. It's meant for older students. So really take a look at how it is set up, and is it aimed at your student. And that leads us to appropriateness. Sometimes we'll have these free websites and you see 50 million ads all around the sides. And when you look at what the ads are saying, these are not, this is not what you really want your children to be looking at when they're using a virtual manipulative, gaming and comment. You know the ads that are there. So please check that it is appropriate for your students. All right. So let's talk a little bit. This is the same question we had earlier, which is larger, fifth or third. Please write down and work on them. I have mine on my little handy dandy paper here. Which is larger, fifth or a third? How do you put these fractions in order? A quarter. I'm going to look at how we should do that. All right. So the first one we're doing is fifth and a third and a quarter and a sixth. All right. So the website where we're going to use to look at this is a website called Toy Theater. Some of you may be familiar with it. The price on Toy Theater is right up our street, F-R-E-E, free. So all you have to do is Google Toy Theater. There's a link here, but that link just gets me to exactly where I want to get. But Toy Theater, just Google Toy Theater and you will go where you want to go. All right, so let me see if I bring it up. There are a lot more manipulatives. There are a lot more manipulatives than this. Virtual manipulatives than this, but these are the ones that are specific to fractions. So you have fraction strips, decimal strips, percentage, fraction bars, and fraction strips. So let's take a look at fraction strips. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. And this is how the fraction strips looks. So the question was, which is larger, 1/5 or 1/3? So this is really easy. The students can just put, bring up, drag and drop 1/5 and drag and drop 1/3. Now, the reason why I like this site for younger children are the colors are bright, the tiles are big, so moving with a mouse is much easier, or if they have to manipulate it on a tablet, it's much easier to do rather than when the tiles are small. Do I like these things on the right-hand side? No, because I find them to be a little bit distracting, but they're colorful and all right and nothing inappropriate. So it's free, so I'll accept it. So we put a 5th and a 3rd. The student can easily understand which one is larger, right? So we can manipulate a fifth and a third that way. All right, and for them to take it off, they just put them down like this, okay? And the other one we looked at is a quarter as compared to a half and compared to 1/5. There you go. So they can, with this one, they can easily move them around. They can easily move them around to give a comparison. There you go. You can compare what they are, and you ask them to write them down. So this is a really easy website for you to give the children to compare fractions this way, all right? They can also do addition of fractions, how many quarters make a whole. So we can put those things here. But I'm going to show you that on another website that I think handles it a little better than here. So you can do a whole lot of arranging with the tiles, okay? All right, just a question that I know I'm going to get. How are you going to use this in class? Now, if you are using WhatsApp, I don't know. I suppose screenshots could work, but you're going to, if you're using Zoom or Google Meets, you're going to do it exactly the way I'm doing it now. So you're going to show the children, show them how to do it, give them the link. You can probably tell them to, if they're savvy enough to try it on their own, you can show the parents, they can come back, they can screenshot, whatever. So exactly the way, I mean, I'm not teaching it to you because you all know this already, but this is exactly how you would use it in a Zoom lesson to give instruction, okay? All right, so so that one is Toy Theater, all right? So these are some other ones that they have, and they're nice and bright and colorful, okay? All right, so let's move on. The next thing we want to do is compare and order fractions. Now, this is a skill that I find, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn. This is a skill that I find a lot of upper school, primary school children come to us with, and they are not able to do it. So what they should be able to do, because this is a grade 3 task, is be able to say which is smaller, 2/8 or 2/5. Put the following fractions in order, starting with the smallest, and we've gotten some there. And Sam ate 4/5 of a birthday cake, and his sister ate 4/17 of the same cake. Who ate more cake? Now my question is, how would your students, sorry, that's my spelling error, how would your students solve these? And could they do them mentally? So in the chat, could you let me know if your students could do these questions, and could they, especially grade 3, I'm really speaking to grade 3 now, could your students do these 3 questions, and could they do them mentally? So let me ask that question and see. And how would they do them? How would they do them? First, reduce, all right? Use fraction pieces. All right, so reducing. Let us look at the fractions that I'm using, 2/8 and 2/5. Those fractions were selected, specially selected. Conceptually, can students do this mentally? Can I get a yes or no for that? Can your students do this, yes or no? Can they do this mentally? Everybody's saying find a common denominator. Okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Mentally, no. So those who are saying no, is it because you're saying that they're going to find a common denominator and then work it that way? Is that what you're saying? Changing them into equivalent fractions. Okay. All right, so today I'm going to show you something. Hopefully in 2 minutes I'm going to show you something that we really want students to have such a firm understanding of fractions that they should be able to look at those fractions and decide and put them and arrange them without equivalent fractions. No, they cannot do it mentally. They will though. They will. I tell you, they will. All right, so let's see what we're going to use. Obviously, this is better. This is definitely better when I am there when you're there, and we use paper and cutting, but we are not, we don't have that there. So we're going to use a virtual manipulative to do that. All right. So the next, this is another website with manipulatives that I love. This one is called Braining Camp. This one is also a paid website, but COVID has opened the door for us teachers. COVID has opened the door for us teachers, and it is free until June 30th. The door is wide open. Everything on this website is free until June 30th. So please go and take what is there for you to get. I see some people saying cross multiply and look at the numerator. Remember, those skills are not grade 3 skills, because grade 3 skills are not multiplying fractions, right? So let us look how we're going to do this. So here we go, Braining Camp. So write that down. That's a website that you want to know. All right. Again, Braining Camp, you have to sign in, all the rest of that. I've done all of that already. Just sign up for your free account. See, here it is, your free license until June 30th. So go and get your free license. So here are the manipulatives that, here are the virtual manipulatives that they have. And the one that we want to be looking at today is fraction tiles. Now, because this is a paid website, it is the face of it, the look of it is by far cleaner than the unpaid ones. So we're going to look at show equivalent fractions. And let me just write them down what we were doing. We were doing a quarter, comparing a quarter. What else were we comparing? An eighth, and we're comparing a fifth. All right, so let me just write them on the side of the board here. All right, so we can compare. So as you see, this is like a blackboard. At the bottom, it has the pens, it has the eraser. It has different colors that you can use. And it can work decimal fraction, percentages, and here are the tiles on this side. So right now we're not going to use the tiles. As you go down on the right hand side, it's going to talk about a wall. So we're going to put up this wall. So I'm sorry, but my numbers came off because that's another screen. So if I want to compare a quarter, I can put a quarter down, right? And then I can take up 1/8, and I can put 1/8 there, 1/8, and I can put 1/5. So it is very easy for the students to compare. Now it also has this tool here that you can move when you have a lot of them and you're not sure, that you can move and check the size of the fraction, right? So this is really, really helpful. And it is even more helpful when we do something like this. If you want to know, you have a fifth, or you have 3/6, what is equal to. So this little ruler thing here that you can slide across really allows the child to see what fractions are equivalent to a half. All right, are you seeing that? And that can come off if you want. So you can put it on and move it around, or you can take it off. Okay, so let's go back to our wall over here. So as I said, you can simply use the tiles and the child can then compare. But we wanted to show, so everybody should be okay with this. This is not very difficult. I just wanted to show you how to use this as well. There's a section here where you have text, so you can type anything you want the children to. How many have, I mean, you can type any question you want, you can type there, and it becomes on, it's left on the board there. So this is how this interface works, and it is really, really very neat. All right, but this is not the only one. As again, we're familiar with it. It has a wall here, and it also has the number, the scale on the bottom. Okay, so let us go back a little bit because I want to cover everything, and we are already running to do this thing mentally. So, you know, children understand things when you tell them a story. And when you tell them a story that includes food and includes money, you even have their attention more. So I'm going to tell a story to you. I'm pretending you're my students. I'm going to tell you a story, and then we're going to talk about fractions. So there are three pizza places, right? Here's one pizza place, and let us call that pizza place, I'm going to call this one Pizza Hut. This is, so let me just, for time, I'm going to call this one Pizza Hut, right? And then there's another pizza place that makes pizza as well, and they make pizzas all the same size. And this pizza place, we're going to call that Domino's. So I'm just going to put a D here for Domino's, and that's Domino's Pizza. And then we have a third pizza place that I like to eat from, and that pizza place is called Little Caesars, right? Little Caesars. So my mother knows that these are the pizza places that I like. So, and so she told me that I could have some pizza if I did really well on my exam. So let us put the pizza, let us put the slices, let's not use 8, let us use a 50. So she told me that if I was really good, I could have pizza. Are you noticing how you can just drag and drop the slides in? You can drag and drop the slides in. All right, so let me just put them in. I don't want you to be that color. Let's take you out. If you want to delete, you just go like that and delete. All right, there you go. And you can duplicate. You can duplicate by just doing this. All right, and you can do, here the story continues. So my mother said, you can get pizza because you really did well on your exam this week, your math exam, so you can get some pizza. So she said, okay, here's the thing, the price that they have, I have a certain amount of money, and the price that they have, you can get 2 slices from Pizza Hut, or you can get 1 slice from Domino's, or you can get 3 slices from Little Caesars, okay? So then I'd ask the children, if I'm to get 2 slices from Pizza Hut, what fraction of the pizza would I be getting? Could I get the answers for that? What fraction of the pizza would I be getting? Everybody knows the fraction that we would be getting of the pizza would be 2/5, right? Because it is in 5 slices. And if I can only get 1 slice from Domino's, what fraction of the whole, what fraction of the pizza would I be getting? I'd be getting 1/5, right? And if I can get 3 slices of the pizza from Little Caesars, what fraction of the pizza would I be getting? And I would be getting 3/5. And I asked the children, and everybody has the same answer. Which pizza do you want? You like them all the same? Which pizza do you want to get? And everybody's going to tell me they want 3/5. And I'm going to say, why do you want the pizza from Little Caesar? Miss, because I get more. Because I get more. And then I say to them, I'm moving really quickly, but you can know how the story goes. So which place would you get the smallest amount? And they said, Miss, we don't want Domino's because you get the smallest amount there. I said, okay, and which place are you going to get the most? And they say, I'm going to get the most at Little Caesars. So I tell them to write down the 3/5 here. And then which fraction would be in the middle? And the middle amount, and they tell me then that would be 2/5. And then I say, okay, so look at the fractions. If we know which is the bigger fraction, and the largest fraction would be 3/5. Now then I do this several times with different combination, but we've always written it down. So we have 1/5, 2/5, and 3/5. And then I say to the students, look, what do you notice? Do you notice anything? Now, just to sidestep a minute, we have to teach children how to notice. I don't know if this will work at grade 1 to 3. As I said, I haven't taught that in many years. But at grade 6, I teach children how to notice. There is a skill of noticing. Students, look for things that are the same and then look for things that are different. So once I say to children, what do you notice? They know, scan what they're looking, tell me what is the same, and tell me what is different. So they'll say, Miss, all the denominators are the same. Oh, really? And what is different? Miss, the numerators are different. Can we come up with a rule? Remember, we've done this maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times, and having a list that they can see a pattern. And the pattern is, if the denominator is the same, the fraction with the larger numerator is the larger fraction. And I get them to write that in their books, right? And we study, we know that. And they think about the pizza. If all the pizzas have the same, are the same size, I want the one with the 3, the one with the higher numerator. So students get that conceptual understanding in their head, right? And they're able then to look at a question as comparing 1/5, 2/5, and 3/5. And they don't need to work out equivalent fraction because the denominators are the same and they know exactly what they want, they should do, right? Because they have that. You extrapolate it to the really ridiculous and say, children, what if I was a really mean person and I cut the pizza up into 100 pieces? Would you want one slice out of that pizza? No, miss, I don't want that pizza. Right, so they know that the more pieces it is cut up in, the smaller the pizza gets. Okay? Is everybody okay with that? And we can do the same thing. We can do the same thing for when the numerators are the same and the denominators are different. So I'm not going to go through that, but you do the same story with the pizza. The pizza places have different size slices. Do you want one of this and one of this and one of that? And you work through it the same way. So students now have this understanding in their head rather than trying to find the equivalent fraction. They look, are the numerators the same? Are the denominators the same? If so, I know exactly what to do. All right? Are we okay? Everybody's okay? All right. So the next thing that I want to quickly work through is equivalent fractions. And I spoke about that a little bit. Let me go back to fraction tiles. We can look at equivalent fractions using the fraction wall, right? So the wall, here we go. We can look at the fraction wall. So if I ask children, can you tell me an equivalent fraction, a fraction that has the same value as a half? They're able to use this virtual manipulative. Look to see that this is a half here, and we can empty this. This allows you to do that, to highlight the half and find where else is exactly a half. And sometimes they will have to, oh, sorry, I took that off. They'll have to move this a little bit and check. Okay, can you find another one? Yes, miss. If we do this one, this is exactly a half as well. And you can ask them while you're on the Zoom to tell you what it is. So this particular fraction wall allows you to change the color, really highlights it for them, right? So I particularly like this one rather than the other. And as I said, it's free until June 30th. Are we okay? Everybody's all right? Yay, nay? Can I get a yay in the chat? Everybody's good? You're hearing all right? Okay. All right, but there's another way to show equivalent fractions, which I'm not too sure if it is workable at the younger grades, but maybe grade 3. So let us use pattern blocks to show equivalent fractions, right? How can pattern blocks show equivalent fractions? All right, here is just for you to understand how this manipulative works. Here are the shapes and you can put them on. If you look at the bottom right hand side, you have basic shapes and you can have fraction shapes as well, which changes the shapes that you can use. So let's hear a story. Let's hear, we have this shape here. Let's put one of this shape here. And you can ask the children what shape this is. What shape is this, everybody? Do you know the shape? Yes, you know the shape, okay? Do you know it? What shape is this? I'm not getting any answer. Nobody knows the shape? Okay, do that for homework. All right, so here, let's make a shape. Can we make a shape that looks exactly like that shape? And you're able to move this across and check the size. And you can see that, yes, it's the same exact size. So let's make a shape like that. And how this one works is that you can go like this, and then you can click it and you can flip and rotate it, right? It flips and rotates and snaps into place. Are these two exactly the same? Yes, they are. All right, let's do another one. Let's do this one. Let's put another shape. Let's do that. Let us click it you click it a second time and then you can flip, and you can also highlight it like this and duplicate it, and then I never get the right flip here. Then you can just flip it and move it over. All right. Is this shape the same? Is the yellow shape and the red shape and the brown shape all the same? Yes, they are. Can we make another one? Yes, we can. Let's quickly make this. I'm sorry that this is taking so much time, but I know you're bearing with me, and I'm these are really easy for you to manipulate, so you don't have to worry about going to learning how, somebody giving you a Zoom lesson on how to do this. Just play around with it for 5 minutes and you'll understand. All right, so now I say to the children, you can say to the children, okay, so we have some shapes, all of these are the same. Do we agree? They're the same size, same shape. Remember, emphasizing this thing on fraction. Oh, what has happened? Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Is my screen back? Okay, I'm back. All right.
It's back now.
So they're the same and we agree. We agree. So then I say, okay, what fraction is this? This is 1 whole, right? So let's write 1 whole there. And this fraction, what fraction would we have for this? We would have 2 out of 2, right? 2 halves. And what would this be? And the only thing here is that the pen is using the pen with our mouse is a little bit sticky, but with practice you'll get better at it. 6. All right, so there we go. So the students agree to that, right? That's a fraction. This is the fraction here. So then I say, okay, what if I do this? What if I do this? And I am going to duplicate. Oh, sorry. No. Let me take that off. What if I copy these here and I bring them down? So I've taken off. Isn't that neat? Isn't that neat? I mean, it's really just mind-blowing for me that you can just move that. So now we have half. So if I have half, if these are all the same, then these are all the same. Do you agree? These were the same. I've now taken a half. So what is the fraction that is left here? This would be a half. Agreed? And this would be 2/4. And this would be 3/6. All right? And then you have a nice discussion with the children to guide them into seeing that these are equivalent. Obviously, these are all the same, and these are equivalent fractions. I'm sorry, I'm not. These are all equivalent. All right? Are we okay? All right? So we're now at 10 minutes past 3. We're going against the clock. All right. So basically, there are lots of things that you can do with this website. As I told you, it is a paid website, but go and get it for free right now. All right. Just so that I'm going to deviate a little bit. If you'll allow me, from fractions, just to show you some of the other virtual manipulatives that it has. It has a clock. We're not going to be doing this now, but it has a clock, and what's neat about it, you can put the time there, and then you can tell the children, okay, we're counting in 5s, and then we're counting in 1s, right? So it really allows you to do all kinds of things, and then all kinds of things you can do. Half an hour, 15 minutes, things like that, okay? All right, so that's a quick look at the clock. Let me show you, it has number lines. Number lines, let me tell you, number lines is such an important concept for students to understand. It really, a lot of things are laid on the understanding of number lines. And you can change here, you want it from 0 to 100, but let us say you want it to go more than that. You can make the number line be more, or you can make the number line go to as low as, say, 5. You just type it in here, right? So if you want the number line to be 5, type in 5, and it will be a number line of 5, okay? And then you can put in these nice little arrows when you're showing how you move from one part of the number line to the other part is there. And then if you want to show moving back for subtracting, that's all there. All right. So this is their number line. All right. Let me go back a bit. As I said, they're place value this. There's a whole lot of things that you can use here that are aimed at the grades 1 to 3. Color tiles, you name it is here. All right. So let me come out of this for a second, because I want to say one more thing, and I want to allow some time for question and answer. I want to allow a longer time, because I was told I didn't do enough of that the last session I had. All right, so those were examples of high-tech online ways, but I tried to think about how can I help for those who are more low-tech. So I started to think about, everybody really has, or a lot of teachers have PowerPoint on their computers, and they're able to make PowerPoint slides. Could they make slides and then take pictures? And audio, because PowerPoint allows you to put audio and send it by the internet, or even send a voice note. So you could do a picture like this. I just got this from the internet, and you could say the story like, you know, I really love chocolate, and so I bought a Kit Kat, and when I was coming to school with the Kit Kat, I thought about it. The Kit Kat was calling me from my bag, and I had to have a piece, so I broke off one piece of the Kit Kat. How much chocolate did I eat? And you could probably take this as a picture and ask that question. How much of the chocolate did I eat? And then they would give the answer. And then you move on. How did you get your answer? How did you know it was a quarter? And you know the kinds of answers that you're looking for your children to have. And then you can take another picture like this with that quarter moved off, and say, you know, so by the time I got to school at break time, I felt like I wanted 2 more pieces of the Kit Kat. How much of the chocolate bar did I eat this time? And 2/4. And then how did you get your answer? And you can do things like this. So this is another way of trying to engage your students using something that is not online, that you can take a picture of, a screenshot, and send along with an audio for your WhatsApp students. All right. How can we find out how much of the chocolate bar I ate in all? These kinds of questions. And then this you can do with just a PowerPoint slide. All right. Now, just to let you know, this bar here, I find it easier to use one of the virtual manipulative sites, and then just copy it from there and put on the slide. That's the lazy way that I use. So there you go. So the next thing I want to talk about for 2 minutes, is something called desmos. Now, desmos is not for the, how should I put it? Let me word it differently. Desmos is for the tech savvy. So if you feel like you are tech savvy and want to take up the challenge, Desmos is really a neat website. Let me show it to you. So those of you who came early, I asked you to fill out go to our website and you were to do these little questions here. And these are the results of your little questions. How many people filled it out? 8 people. Here they are, everybody who filled it out. And what it allows me to do is let me show you the student view of it. It allows you to create questions for the students. So here's the student view. So the first thing you saw is how am I feeling today? And you drag the purple dot left, and I'm really stressed, or I got really red, or I'm happy along. And then the next question was one thing that made you smile, just to engage students. And then it has these fraction diagrams. Drag the blue point to shade the fraction. Here it comes across. So it's interactive in the way they answer, right? Drag the purple dot to show 4, 6. Here you go. So you drag it around just to show you quickly. Enter the fraction. So you type what it is. And then it has this thing, share with your class. So when you click share with your class, you see what other people answer, what the answers of other people are. Shade the part. So it has this part where you take the marker and then you shade it. You shade it along like that. So there are different methods of answering, cut into equal pieces. So you're to divide it into equal pieces. And then there's the text on how did you know that they were equal. I'm sorry that I'm racing through it, but it's there for you to see. And you can get more elaborate. Shade exactly 1/4 of the shape and explain how you know that the shaded part is a quarter, right? So there are all these questions. Quarter of a triangle, that one was lovely. All right, so my question was, how did you find it? So let's go to the teacher view. So here's the teacher view. Here's everybody's answer. And I am going to do what they call, they change the answer. I can change the name, so you're not going to see your name. So when I'm showing students, is where you are going to log on or type in the URL, and you are going to do a quick survey and type your email in correctly. If your email is typed in incorrectly, we have no access to you. Once you do that quick survey, in a day or 2, you will get a copy of the presentation. So those are that's my email address, mathmongoose@gmail.com, and I'm on Twitter at mathmongoose as well. So if you follow me on Twitter, I put up some of these things, and I promise I'm going to be better at putting things up. So follow me there and you'll get some, when I find these really neat websites and resources, I link you to them there. So that's another way of knowing. So that's it for me. If anybody has any questions, I will happily see if I can answer some of them.
Right. Thank you very much, Nicole. I tell you, I am sitting here, and guys, usually I get the chance to look at the presentation that will be shared well in advance of you seeing it. Today was not one of those days when I had the chance to look at the presentation before you guys saw it. I saw it at the same time that you did. And I am telling you, I sat here enthralled, learning so much from this presentation, Nicole, without even having to wait on the others to tell me to thank you. I can tell you on their behalf, I thank you. I've been looking at the chat, and the conversation there generally is that this is an excellent presentation. And I have to say that I endorse that fully. Teachers, I know we want you to ask some questions, but I also have a question to ask you. I know that there are a number of persons who are still only using WhatsApp. And so the question that I have, that I've been puzzling over, is it that the students who use WhatsApp are unable to access any other web-based platform? As I understand it, WhatsApp does require data. And so if they're able to use data to access WhatsApp, what's the challenge with them accessing any other web-based platform? Is there a reason why they can access WhatsApp but not any other platform? And because I think by now you're realizing the tremendous amount of resources that exist online that you can benefit from, that your students can benefit from, if you're prepared to go a little bit away from WhatsApp and start to think about integrating more of these in your lessons. And so I know more and more of you are experimenting with those, but I'm still hearing that WhatsApp is the only thing that we have, and therefore it is what we have to use. So and if anybody could share with us why WhatsApp is the only option you have, even when other free web-based platforms are available, that's something I would want to hear. And of course, if you have any questions or comments or any concern, then you can also ask that now. I'm going to allow participants to unmute themselves. I see quite a few hands. I have now given you the option to unmute. If you want to ask a question, you can now go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly.
Okay. Now, you asked a question. Good afternoon, everybody. You asked a question why most students seem to use WhatsApp. Well, I teach grade 5, this time in this forum, this meeting. And what I observe is that when I attempt to download Zoom, quite a few actually do it, but the rest say, teacher, I have no more space on my phone. So space is a concern in terms of downloading another app on their phone. So that is, so I do 2 lessons sometimes, or sometimes I just do WhatsApp. But
another problem with using another app is
Kim,
whilst WhatsApp, yes.
Before you come in, let me just quickly respond. You know that you don't need the app to actually use Zoom.
Well, yes. I use Zoom with my students. I'm being honest, I use Zoom, but for those who are not in the Zoom meeting, which is quite, I just have like a minor, like probably 3 students. They're saying, teacher, I cannot download anything else on my phone. That's what they're saying.
They don't,
I'm not there, but that's what they're saying.
You can go directly to the web and use Zoom from the web. So like right now, for example, I didn't bother to load this meeting in my app, which I have on my computer. I decided to load it directly from the browser. So you can run it without the app itself. So, but that
all right.
Can I step in here?
All right, before you continue, I will experiment with that when my students are concerned. But what I also hear, when they were downloading Zoom in the initial stage for my students, quite a few could download it. 1 and 2 who had different types of phone, every time they went to Play Store, they couldn't see the app that we all could see on our phone. So I don't know. One of them actually showed me, teacher, this is all I see. So I don't know, phone is your the type of phone that we use, or I don't know. But that's a concern.
All right, I know Kim wanted to say something, and I know Galaxy A10e, I believe. But Kim, you were up first.
Davion, can I?
All right. Before you go, Miss Nicole,
okay, go ahead.
With the Zoom, well, I personally in my school we use Zoom every day, so that's what we use. But with other experiences, like for my son's school, what happens is WhatsApp can put on a social plan and you'll be able to access WhatsApp free of cost. Zoom has a fee, so you actually have to have data to be using Zoom. Another thing is persons can probably try using now instead of the Zoom is the Google Meet. Google give us a very good option there. So instead of downloading something, everybody has to have a Gmail account to use Play Store and all of that. So you would already have the Google thing right there on your phone. So that's another option that people can go to now instead of using the Zoom.
Right.
But as I said, the Zoom requires you to have data, as WhatsApp would not require you. So whilst the children can put on an educational plan that they get for $500 and that would give them unlimited access to the WhatsApp, would not give them unlimited access to Zoom. It would use up all your data.
All right, thank you, Kim. Nicole, I know you wanted to say something.
Right. The participant just said exactly what I was going to say. Google Meet is another option. Zoom is not the only option. Google Classroom, if you have a flow plan, is one of those free URLs as well. These are things that you need to know to tell your students.
Yes.
So if your students are using Flow, once they use Google Classroom, it doesn't take from their data plan. So there's really no, I shouldn't say there's no reason, but that's a good reason step up into Google Classroom. Then there's the other thing that they don't have their own device and they have to wait until parents come home. Google Classroom is good for that because you just put the work there, and when the parents come home, then they can access it. So I'm just saying, teachers, take a look at what is out there because there may be more than you think. And let us put the parents and the students in a box, because at this point, I have 24 out of 34 children. I have 24 that meet me every single morning to come to class. If you had asked me in January, how many of my students would be able to do that? I would have probably said 8. I don't teach in a rich school, and I don't teach in a prep school either. So let us, sometimes it is there, we just need to.
It all depends on the area.
I know, we know, and we said that, we know.
Right. Was there any question though?
The location of the school.
Guys? The content and the strategies we looked at this afternoon. Did you have any question about that?
Hello.
Yes, I'm hearing you, Mr. Francis.
I don't have a question, but I wanted to add about the platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this will be helpful, but apart from Zoom, there are a number of platforms that could be used. And I don't know if anybody have ever heard of Class Dojo, wherein you are not live, but you can record yourself teaching the lesson. And you can post the links, because I was checking out the IXL, and I was actually trying it to see how the students would be able to access it, access the classroom and sign in, how to make it really simple, seeing that this is grade 1 to 3. And the Class Dojo is one such platform that they can download, and you can just record yourself teaching the lesson, and it would be accessible whenever the students are able to go online and sign in to that platform. I know Zoom takes up a lot of data. I don't know if that would be helpful, but it's not only Google Classroom that's out there. There's a lot of platforms out there that would work for the children also, the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank
you.
Thank you very much. We're running out of time, and I really wanted to answer. I didn't want to get into a too long a discussion about platforms and tools. I just wanted to know, is there any other questions or comments about the presentation today? Or, is there anything
May I speak, Herman? May I speak, Herman?
Sure.
Herman, may I speak?
Go ahead, Herman.
Well, I enjoy this session very much. Reason being, I'm an art specialist, and I'm going back to a primary school because my school is now, Road is not a high school anymore, and I teach visual arts to grade 7, so I'm going back. So this fraction was a problem when I left before. I'm not Michael, doing my degree, and what I realized is that fraction gave me a problem. Although I had special children, I only had 16, and I have to teach them from all the classes. And also I've learned how I can use my visual arts in all the other areas and the website that were offered. So thank you very much.
Great. You're welcome.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
All right, guys, it is almost 3:30. I'm going to break your protocol for just a few seconds and give a shout out to Charlene Taylor. She's from Harewood Primary School. I know she's still in the chat. I'm looking at her name now. Charlene, this is Davion Leslie. I went to Harewood Primary School many moons ago. I was one of the students that I would have interacted with. Hi, Miss. It's been a while. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Yes.
Yes, Miss.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, for the presentation where she presented on the 3 pizzas,
right,
could we have represented each specific fraction instead of using 5/5 for each? So could we have used 1/5, 3/5, or 2/5 instead, or show that first and then use that instead?
I'm not hearing the question.
When they are comparing the fractions, could we just show them the 1/5, as in the 1 slice, 2/5 only the 2 slices, and 3/5 only the 3 slices when they're comparing it, instead of just showing them the entire pizza with all 5 slices.
Let me tell you why we want. What I should have done, that particular website allows you to change the color of the slices. So I could have changed the color of the slices to highlight that. But we were pressed for time. So if I had highlighted the color to separate it from the other part of the pizza, it would have been clearer and certainly much better. But the thing that we have to remember is that 1/5 of a small pizza is a different size to 1/5 of a huge pizza. So you really want children to understand that the size of the pizzas must be the same. The size, so that is part of getting that understanding, that it's not just, not every 1/5 is larger. It depends on what the whole amount is. So you need to show the whole to get that understanding. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
All 1/5 aren't created equal.
Yes, I understand that part about the sizes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. So as you know, we invite you to complete the evaluation. Once you do that, I think we have been very good at sharing the presentations with you. I tend to wait a day or so to close the link, stop accepting evaluations, and then I send you the presentation. Did I hear somebody wanting to say something?
Go ahead.
What if I have 10 pieces and I want them to understand half, and I use them in color code for those who are guided learners?
No, anything. 10 pieces. What fraction pieces are we talking about?
Okay, I want to teach them half, and I use it on a.
The other teacher uses red instead. What happens there? And then they go to grade 4 and that teacher uses green. You understand? I don't know if that's what you're asking.
I was asking, really. Let me see if I can reiterate what I've said. I want to teach them half, and I give them 10 pieces, a whole with 10 pieces. So I want them to use the color code to show me half. So they are going to fit the color pieces to show me.
What is the color code? What is the color code? Are all the pieces are different colors?
Good night.
Yes. I want them to show me half by using blue. For all of the half part, it would be blue. The other half, with different colors. So I want them to pick half of it.
They could be the same color. See, I get it.
So here's my question. The 10 pieces, so we're doing fraction of an amount rather than part of a whole. We're doing part of a set.
I get it mixed up.
Is it something that do the 10 pieces make what? Do they make a whole circle? Do they make a whole rectangle? Or are they 10 separate pieces that do not make a set?
He makes a whole, like a clock face.
Oh, so it's circular. It's circular.
Circular.
Okay. And there are 10 pieces, so they're 1/10.
Yes, yes. I give them different colors, and they are going to pick out the colors and keep in so that I can see half.
Okay, let me ask you something. So if you have different colors and a child takes a pink and takes 5 different colors and tells you that this is a half, what will you say?
No, miss.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. You're saying you want them to pick out all the blue ones to make the half. But I'm saying, so suppose that child picks a yellow and a green and a red and shows you a half with the others. Is that child wrong?
Oh, no. What
the child is not wrong.
The child isn't wrong. So, so the child has shown you a half. So the half doesn't really have anything to do with color.
Colors.
Okay.
Exactly. The
I don't
color.
know if I'm understanding what you're saying. It's nice and it looks visually nice, but half doesn't have anything to do with color.
No.
So if a child gives you in all different other colors and shows you a half, it is correct.
Still half. Still
Still
half.
half. Still half.
Because you're not teaching colors. She's not teaching colors. She won't be teaching colors. She's teaching fraction.
Particular color.
Afternoon.
Yes, I've been listening to the presentation. I think it was a very good presentation. Carl Moulton from Survey Primary in Brownstown. Looking at the fraction, I think that for the lower grades, especially I think for grade 3 sometimes, we normally give them, ask them to make a fraction chart to show from 1 whole probably down to like say 1/10. So, you know, they would make a fraction chart where you have probably you could use color to represent 1 whole, probably red. And then and you go down again and you cut that in a half, 2 pieces, go down, right down until 1/10. And to me, that is one way of getting across the concept of teaching the different.
I absolutely agree with you. I agree with you. And when we're in a face-to-face situation, you would much prefer to have a hands-on manipulative, but COVID has taken that away. So
I know that. But sometimes we could also give that as
so
homework
remember,
to the students too.
Right, but how do you, so you've given it as homework, how are they going to show you that they're doing it
on their own?
And that they have the understanding. That's right.
Or are you going to be sure that they did it on their own?
No, not do it on their own. So the whole thing about making a fraction chart, you know, it's not about making a chart, but it's about using it.
Yes, and getting them to understand the different fractions. That, for example, how
are you going to instruct?
I see what you're saying, that because we're not in front of them face to face, it's kind of hard for them to get it like that. But if you're doing a Zoom class,
that's all I'm saying.
Yes, if you're doing a Zoom class, you probably could explain to the students where you probably could.
What are you going to use to explain?
Well, you'd have to make one for yourself.
What
and
are
then
you?
give them an
Okay, they have
example.
it in front of them. All right, I agree with you, but I'm saying, why go? So you're going to make one for yourself, and you have a Zoom class. How are they? It is so much easier. That is what I'm saying. Let us move forward. You have your fraction tiles on your desk. How are they going to see it in a Zoom class? It is so much easier when you project that thing on the screen for them to see.
No, you would
have
have
to. What I'm saying?
Yes, you would have to. I think there's a chatboard in Zoom in a way you could put up you could project it on the screen for them to see. They are not going to be able to see you using the tiles.
You're saying, so are you saying that the virtual manipulative is not the better way?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you could probably, after you have done the virtual manipulative, you probably could ask the students, giving them different fractions to show you going back to 1 whole and a half and whatever, and you go all the way down probably to 1/12 or something to show that the fractions are equivalent in that concept.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying, for me, if my choice is to teach after they have theirs, my choice is to make it my own fraction chart, or to use a virtual manipulative. The virtual manipulative works, wins every time.
All right, guys, I feel I want to again thank you for participating and also acknowledge the tremendous work that Nicole has done this evening and in previous sessions, and will continue to do with us. Hint, hint, Nicole. We have other sessions. Next week, we are planning to have sessions for language arts and science. We have not done any science sessions yet. So look for just mute all participants. Look for the flyer over the weekend or so, advising you of the dates for the sessions for next week. You guys are on holidays. You're on your midterm break. Monday is Labor Day. I encourage you to get some work done around the house, but also get some rest and be ready and raring to go for the next academic week, which will start a bit late next week on Tuesday. I expect our sessions to be Wednesday and Thursday at the very least, but possibly Friday as well for next week. Let me thank you for being here. Let me thank you for participating. Let me encourage you to tell your friends about these sessions and encourage them to participate. Have a great rest of the afternoon and a great weekend, and enjoy yourselves a little this weekend. Be safe and rest. Just call in. Feel free.